Hey everyone, welcome to Horror Talk Live, episode 13. And welcome, thank you for joining me here on this Friday night for this special edition. Tonight we're going to be talking about two movies instead of our normal one movie. And tonight we're going to be talking about X and then Pearl. We're going to go in the order that they were released. So we're going to do X first, then the prequel, Pearl. But as always, before we get into this, and obviously this is to get preparation for Maxxxine that comes out next week, I will be going to see it next Sunday with my good buddy Dale _ from the Bat and Spider podcast. As always, give a quick plug to those guys. Go over and check them out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those guys are awesome. And my buddy Dale was going to join me tonight, but you know, we both have families and he couldn't. So I'm flying solo. Troy has not seen these films yet for obvious reasons. But first, let's get into my recent physical media pickups. And the first one is Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. Now, I have not watched this yet. I have not seen this movie yet. I've heard good things. I've heard mixed things. We will see. I do plan on checking this out after the 4th of July. I'm not going to have time this coming week. I have company coming, but yes, I just got this on Blu-ray just a few weeks ago. I just have not had a chance to check it out yet. So the next one is Them. This is from the 1950s. This is atomic energy mutates nature, and then nature runs amok kind of film. This is actually one of my favorite ones. I've not seen this in decades, but I'm looking forward to rewatching it. And I'm going to review this closer to Halloween. But yes, Them is a pretty cool. It's basically about ants that get huge and start attacking people if you've never seen it. James Whitmore's in it. It's a pretty cool creature feature if you've never seen this one. Next up is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This just dropped on Tuesday. Picked it up. We saw this in the theaters back in March. I enjoyed it. My son, hey Kurt, how you doing this evening, buddy? Glad you can make it. I liked this, but my son liked it a lot more. I prefer Afterlife over this one, but I thought it was worth picking up because I did enjoy it enough, and there's enough good things in here that I picked it up. And we'll probably be watching this next week when my mom and dad and my nephew Landon come to visit. And the final one that I just received is the Steelbook 4, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I really enjoyed this film. I saw it back in April when it came out, and I couldn't wait to purchase this. I enjoyed it that much. And this is a plastic slipcover, and then this is the Steelbook. And then inside, you got the digital copy, the 4K, and the Blu-ray. And on the back, you got some more additional artwork. But yeah, this is available now to purchase on physical media. It's also available on digital if you hadn't got a chance to check it out and you're interested. I think it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a Guy Ritchie fan. And yeah, it's a pretty badass World War II film. Now, to go on to some theatrical films, the last couple theatrical films that I saw. First up, I did a review for this one. You can check that out. Yes, Kurt, yeah, definitely Afterlife was better movie. I did enjoy Frozen Empire, but Afterlife was definitely the better film. I got to see In a Violent Nature. And if you want, they just dropped it on VOD today. You can rent it on Amazon. You can purchase it also on Amazon, I think for $14.99. I just saw that announcement today. And no, that's fine, Kurt. You can use the code. I'm not going to use it. So if anybody saw it, whoever uses it first, it's all yours. Check it out, man. I don't use the digital codes anyway. I usually end up giving them out. So use it, man, if you got it. Or if you want it, I'll send it to you later, Kurt. In a Violent Nature, it is streaming on Amazon. You can rent it, you can buy it. I took Troy to see it a couple weeks ago. Now, if you haven't seen my review, it's a slasher film. It's an old school 80s style slasher film, but what makes this one different than most slasher films is the camera is with the killer. Like, the camera is literally behind the killer as he stalks his victims and stalks through the woods. That's the main difference on this film. It's terrifically shot. It's beautifully shot. There's actually a calming factor to the film. I know it sounds weird because the movie is extremely violent and extremely gory. But there's a lot of time where the camera's just tracking right behind the killer through the woods. And you hear the ambient noise, the different creatures, just the sounds of the forest. And it's actually weirdly soothing and weirdly relaxing, and then you get these bursts of ultra violent, gory scenes, and then it's kind of goes back to being kind of relaxing, and it's a weird mix. It's hard to describe without actually seeing the film yourself, but I really enjoyed it, and there's some great kills in the movie. I will say the ending didn't work for me, but 95% of the movie did work, and I really enjoyed it. So if you get a chance, check out In a Violent Nature. It's available today on Amazon Prime. You can rent it or you can buy it off Amazon. I don't know if it's on other digital services. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but it is available as of today. The other film I got to see in the theaters 2 weeks ago before we went on vacation last week was Bad Boys Ride or Die. My wife and my son and I went to see it, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 9 out of 10, or 8.5 out of 10. My wife and my son gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's the funniest of the Bad Boys. It was a really fun, really well done R-rated action film, and we enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'll be purchasing that on 4K. It's not my favorite Bad Boys, but I think it's better than Bad Boys for Life. And I like Bad Boys for Life, don't get me wrong, but I just thought this one was better. It's very enjoyable. So if you're a fan of the Bad Boys franchise, you could do a lot worse, and it's doing really well, so maybe we'll get a fifth one. Who knows? That's it for theatrical. I might go see The Bike Riders on Sunday or Horizons, Kevin Costner's Western. I don't know. Probably The Bike Riders. I don't know if I'm going to have 3 hours because Horizons is 3 hours long. I might have to wait a couple weeks to see that because as we're doing tonight, we're prepping for Maxxxine, and I'm definitely going to see Maxxxine next Sunday, which I'm super excited about. It's one of my most anticipated films of the summer, and I can't wait to see the closing chapter of Ty West's horror trilogy. So why don't we get into the first release of Ty West's trilogy? Well, now it's going to be a trilogy. At the time when he started filming, he didn't know it was going to be a trilogy, but now we know it's a trilogy. X came out March 18th of 2022. And I remember seeing the trailer for this, and I've seen Ty West movies before. I haven't seen them all, but I'm a fan of Ty West. I really loved. He did a movie called The House of the Devil back in 2009. It's a slow burn, satanic panic kind of horror film, and I love that movie. I'm going to review it this Halloween. I really like that film. I've never reviewed it, but it's a really fantastic slow burn. Don't expect fast pace here. It takes its time. It's very deliberate. But the payoff is fantastic. I really love The House of the Devil. If you get a chance, check it out. He did another one. The next one up that he did was called The Innkeepers. It's a haunted inn movie, and it's actually a decent flick. If you get a chance to check it out, I think it's streaming on Tubi. I'm not 100% on that, but I swear I saw it on there. The other film that I'm familiar with Ty West from is The Sacrament in 2013, which was Ty West's version of doing a movie kind of based on, well, cults again, but the Jim Jones cult, although he doesn't call them that, or the guy who's running this cult isn't Jim Jones, but it's very close. It's like an alternate reality of that incident. It's kind of like a found footage movie, but it's really well done. I like that film. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. And he's done other films in the Valley of Violence. I believe it's a Western with John Travolta and Ethan Hawke. He did Cabin Fever 2, which I know he disowned because the studio fucked with him. And he's done many other things. Plus, he acted in a few. He was in Your Next. He was the boyfriend of the daughter who came home for dinner. He was in that film as well. And then we're here at X, and we're going to talk about Pearl after this one. Now, this is rated R. It's definitely a hard R considering the nudity and the violence involved. It had a budget of $1 million, and upon release, it made $14.7 worldwide. While that doesn't sound like a lot, based on a $1 million budget, and A24 is really good with spending their money wisely. It was a nice size hit, enough for them that they greenlit Pearl before they were even done filming X. And we'll talk about once they get to Pearl. Now, in this film, we got Mia Goth playing two different roles. She plays Maxxxine and Pearl, which I got to be honest, when I first saw this in the theater, me and Dale _ A from the Bat and Spider podcast went to see it together. I didn't realize that Mia Goth was playing Pearl as well. I didn't know that until the movie was over, and I had to look it up on IMDb. Jenna Ortega, who's the it girl, especially in horror right now, and then she was coming off of Scream 2022. That came out in January. This came out in March. Plays Lorraine, or they call her Church Mouse during the film. Brittany Snow plays Bobby Lynn, and Brittany Snow was in the Prom Night remake. That's where I know her from. I know she was in Pitch Perfect, I believe. I never saw that film, but I'm pretty sure she was in that. Kid Cudi, or Cudi, I don't know how, I think it's Cudi, plays Jackson. He is the boyfriend of Bobby Lynn. And Martin Henderson plays Wayne. He is the idea man, or the guy that's putting up the money for all this, and we'll talk about what they're doing. Owen Campbell plays RJ, and he is the filmmaker of the group, because what this group is doing is they're driving in their van, which I love what the side of the van says, plowing service. They're driving out in the middle of rural Texas. They rented a cabin off this elderly couple on their very secluded farm to shoot a highbrow or artistic porno. And that's what they're doing. It's 1979, and this is their way to make some money. Wayne runs a strip club. As we see in the beginning, they're loading up in this van, the plowing service van, which I love that van. Jesus Christ. And they're going off, and they get to this farm, and it starts off with a weird interaction with the husband, but they get into the cabin and they hit the ground running, man. They start filming sex scenes immediately. They waste no time. And Ty West did something kind of funny, actually. There was a porn in the 70s called Farmer's Daughter, and they even referenced the farmer's daughter in the film. So it's kind of funny that he brought it back to that. And pretty soon, though, things start taking a turn. Church Mouse, or Lorraine, Jenna Ortega's character, whose boyfriend, or is RJ's girlfriend, and supposedly a good church girl, decides that she wants to participate in said porn film. And Wayne has RJ film it, and this messes RJ up. He can't handle it. He decides he's going to get in a van and take off. And when he's leaving this property or trying to get off this farm, Pearl is in the driveway, and he gets out to help her. He thinks she's a confused old woman, which she kind of is, but she's also a sick son of a bitch, and she stabs him to death, almost to the point where his head comes off. When I saw this in the theaters, it was a very shocking, very, surprising, because it's an elderly woman, but you kind of knew where the film was going to go. This is kind of a take on the Psycho Biddy, where it's an older woman going completely batshit crazy, killing people. And from then on out, Pearl and her husband start killing off our group one by one, until all that's left is Maxxine, because everybody else has been dispatched in various ways, either eaten by the alligator that's in their pond, or just killed by the elderly couple. And Maxxine takes out Pearl. Her husband has a heart attack and dies from some of the proceedings, and Pearl heads out on the highway, and that's the end of X. What to like about this film? Well, first off, the anesthetic. Ty West really sells that 70s grindhouse horror movie, only done with more artistic flair. This is an extremely well-shot movie, well-lit movie. I love the 70s style he's going for. It's definitely a cross between Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, and Boogie Nights, if I had to describe this film by giving you an idea through some other films. Those are the three films I could see this film taking pieces out of. There's no chainsaw, though. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre is more about the grindhouse feel, the gritty feel. They shot this digitally, but it looks like they shot it on film. The cast is great. I didn't know who Mia Goth was until I saw this film. I have no problem admitting that. And she is great here. And knowing that she did Pearl as well is just amazing. She's great in both roles, but this one's really an ensemble cast. I mean, Maxxine is our final girl, but it really is an ensemble cast, and they're great here. They're all great here, and the way they portray these characters, even if you don't agree with their lifestyle choices, they're hard not to like. They're all likable in their own way. They're not, they're not vicious, or they're not evil people at all. They've kind of made this little tight-knit family where they understand each other, and they all have their different wants and needs. And the movie takes its time before we get to the carnage candy. I mean, they really do. Ty West takes his time, sets up these characters. Again, you might not agree with their lifestyle, making pornos, and Maxxine's doing coke bumps left and right, and or some of their questionable life choices. But to them, this is perfectly normal, and they're not hurting anybody. They're all in this together. And, you can't help but not like these folks. So when they start getting killed off by our elderly killers, you want to see them survive. Although at the end of the day, the only person that survives is Maxxine. So she gets to live on, and that's why we get the third one coming out. Maxxine comes out next week. But I really do appreciate how Ty West sets this film up. Again, it's not a fast-paced movie. I mean, the movie's not long. It's only like an hour and 42 minutes or something. But it does take its time and it sets up its characters. And there's even foreshadowing about how some of them are going to meet their fate. Like when Brittany Snow's character is leaving the strip club, there's an alligator or crocodile painted on the wall. And she walks out right by its jaws. And she dies by the crocodile. So I like those little touches. And, you know, there's little callbacks in the film to Psycho and some other films as well. But this is a completely original slasher film. And it's definitely one of, when it came out in 2022, this is one of my favorite horror movies of the year. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. When I left the theater with Dale, I mean, it did everything I wanted it to do. It made me feel uncomfortable in parts, more to do with Pearl and how she was acting towards, especially Maxxine. Because there's a part where Maxxine goes up to the farmhouse and Pearl invites her in to have a glass of lemonade. And Pearl's really not speaking that much. And Maxine's getting ready to leave, and they stop at this mirror, and Pearl's standing next to her, and they're looking in this mirror, and Pearl starts touching her very gently, almost sexually, but it's on the arm, and it creeped me the hell out when I saw this in the theaters. And the other really creepy part is when Maxine's in bed, and Pearl climbs in with her and starts rubbing up against her, and just, it's very, very creepy. And really, this movie, at the end of the day, besides it's a slasher film, it's a allegory for getting older, sex, and not fulfilling what your dreams were. Pearl, as we find out in the prequel, which we'll get to, I mean, Pearl had hopes and dreams to get off this farm and out of this rural area and be somebody. Now, she had psychological, she's fucked up in the head, but she really had dreams of getting out of this farm. And here she is on this farm all these years later, didn't get out, stuck on this farm. She's sexually frustrated, and she takes it out in this group of young filmmakers because they have what she wants and that she can't have because her time has passed. And that's basically what sets her off, and that's why these people meet their fate. But I like how they set up the kills here. I mean, we got Martin Henderson's character gets the pitchfork in the eyes when he's looking through. And I like his character. Like, he's so positive about this whole thing, and he's so nonchalant about it. He's just a fun character. Again, the cast is great here, and the kills are bloody. They're gory. They're very well done. It's not the goriest film you're ever going to see, but they definitely don't shy away from the blood. And yeah, I love the ending, how Pearl does meet her demise. Maxxine runs her head over she goes to shoot Maxxine with a shotgun. It bounces her back from the kickback out the door, and she breaks her hip. And Maxxine gets in the truck and just backs over her head, and she takes off down the road. And I also like the twist that while the film's going on, the film keeps showing the TV in the farmhouse. And there's this preacher talking about sin and pornography and all this stuff going on in the world. And at the end, Maxine's driving down the road, and the shot cuts back to the TV, and he says, "This is my daughter," and he holds up a picture of Maxxine. And we figure, well, it ties it back around where, you know, Maxxine was a religious girl. She broke free of what she probably thought was, you know, oppressive religious idolatry, probably. And she broke free of that, and now she's just running wild. She's doing porn, she's stripping, she's doing bumps of coke again. But she has dreams too. She wants to be a star, and this is her way to do it. And that's how the movie ends. And honestly, we'll see where Maxxine picks up next week, which I'm very excited about. Now, A24 greenlit Pearl before the production wrapped on X. They shot this, even though it takes place in Texas, they shot this in New Zealand. The whole movie was shot in New Zealand. And while they were down there, Ty West had an idea to do the prequel Pearl. So him and Mia Goth co-wrote that script, which we'll talk about when we get to Pearl. Obviously, the title of this refers to the X rating that the MPA used from 1968 to 1990, which was for really graphic content or real sexual content. And then in 1990, they went to the NC-17 rating. This was Brittany Snow's first nude scene in this film, and there is a lot of nudity in this film for sure. They don't shy away from it. The man found hung up in the basement. When Jackson goes to the refrigerator in the cabin and he starts drinking out of the milk carton, you could see the picture of that gentleman hanging in the basement on the milk carton. And it took 6 hours to put Mia Goth into Pearl's makeup every day when she was Pearl on set. And this was filmed between February 16th and March 16th of 2021. So it was right in the middle of COVID and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, this is a film I think it's one of the better horror movies of the last 10 years. And it's certainly one of the best slasher films we've gotten in the last so many years. I really enjoyed this film. Watching it the other night for the first time in a little while, I really dig this film. I dug it back then when I saw it when it was released. I gave it a good rating. I'm going to stick with that rating. I'm giving this bad boy a 9.5 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10 for X. What would you give this film out of 10? Leave your comment in the chat. I greatly appreciate that. Do you like this film? What are your thoughts on it? How does it hold up as a slasher film, as a horror film overall for you? I know some people don't. Most people like this film, but there's some that don't, and that's understandable. I mean, again, film is subjective. If you don't like something that somebody else likes, it's okay. We all don't have to like the same shit. But now, the second film that came out the same year, 2022, we're going to talk about Pearl now. As me and Dale watched the credits roll on X, and it goes right into the trailer for Pearl, I'm like, what the hell? Me and Dale were looking at each other, what the hell is this? Because I didn't know they shot a prequel. And when the trailer ended, I'm like, I want to see that movie. And we're going to talk about it right now. Pearl came out September 16th of 2022. So just, 5 months later, after the release of X, this came out. Once again, this was written and directed by Ty West, co-written by Mia Goth. Mia Goth is back, and this is her movie. And she plays Pearl here, a young Pearl. This takes place in 1918 during World War I. David Cornsweet plays the projectionist. He is going to be the new Superman in James Gunn's Superman movie. Tandy Wright plays Ruth. That's Pearl's mother. And this film basically shows how Pearl became Pearl. Why Pearl is so fucked up. Why is she a psychopath? Why is she a killer? And really, right in the beginning of the film, and Ty West does something different. This film looks completely different than X, where X looked like a grindhouse 70s movie. This looks like a Technicolor Wizard of Oz film. The colors are bright, very vibrant, has a totally different feel than X did. And it works to this film's advantage, for sure. The film opens up, we're back on the farm. It just looks brand new and well taken care of because this was back in 1918. So the house was a lot newer, looked a lot brighter, more vibrant, more new, and it's a working farm. And Pearl lives there with her mom and her dad. Her dad's infirmed because of the Spanish flu outbreak back then. So basically, it's just Pearl and her mother working the farm and taking care of her father because he's stuck in a wheelchair. And, oh, by the way, I just want to give a shout out. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad, if you're watching. Hi, Landon. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Kurt. Anybody else watching, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Friday night. I hope you had a great week. It's been hot as hell here down in North Carolina, but today I got out of work and went right to the pool with my wife and my son and a couple friends of his. So Troy's not here tonight. He's at a sleepover. That's why, and he hasn't seen these films. That's why he's not here with us tonight. But he sends his best. He said hi, and he hopes everybody's having a great day. And right away in the film, Pearl seems like a very pleasant young woman. She's married, but her husband's off at war. Howard is off serving his country. And Pearl is lonely. She hates being on this farm. She hates being in the middle of nowhere. She is going to make it out of here and become something. She wants to be a star. A lot of Pearl's character's wants and needs are the same as Maxxine's, as we've come to learn. Only Maxxine wasn't a psychopathic killer. She killed to survive, but she wasn't killing people, out of being a psychopath. And right away in the film, she kills a goose and goes out and feeds it to the alligator. And we could tell right from the beginning, there's something off about Pearl. But she seems pleasant. She's bubbly. She's pleasant to be around. She wants more than what she's got. And as the film goes on, they do a great job, and Mia Goth does a great job of showing Pearl's descent. Like, you could see her sanity evaporating in front of us. And just little things set her off. But when she goes into town to pick up her father's medicine, she meets this projectionist. She goes to the movies. She loves movies. And hi, Mom. And she's obsessed with movies. She wants to be a star. She wants to be in movies. She wants to get out of here. Go to Hollywood. And she meets this projectionist in the alley after this film she saw. And they strike up a conversation. And she goes back to meet the projectionist again. And he's very positive. He's like reinforcing everything she wants, saying, oh, yeah, I believe you could do it. I hope you do get what you want, and I hope your dreams come true. And Pearl is so smitten. Even though she loves Howard, she is smitten with this projectionist, so much so that she sneaks out of her house, goes to the movie theater, and sleeps with this guy one night. And there's this dance audition coming up at the local church with this church troupe that's going to go off and tour the state, trying to bring, just trying to uplift people's spirits during the upcoming holiday season. So Pearl tells her mom at dinner that she's going to go try out for this. Her mom is totally against it. And you could tell her mom keeps a very close eye on Pearl. Whenever they're out doing their chores on the farm or whatever, if Pearl's helping clean up her father, her mom's always watching. Her mom is suspicious of Pearl for good reason. And it all comes loose. A lot of things shake loose at dinner this one night when Pearl tells her mother that she's going to go into town and audition for this church group. And her mom's totally against it. And her mom gives this great monologue how you think you're better than this. And, she goes on and on. She goes, and the reason why I won't ever let you off this farm again, Pearl, is because there's something wrong with you, and I believe you're dangerous. And they get into a knockdown. They start shoving each other, and they're screaming at each other. And Pearl backs her mom up against the fireplace, and Pearl's mom catches fire. And Pearl proceeds to put her mom out with a boiling pot of water, and her mom's face is all distorted and burnt and melted. And what does Pearl do? She takes her mom and basically takes her down in the cellar and leaves her there, goes back upstairs. She ends up smothering her father, and she goes into town. And, well, first she kills the projectionist. She thinks that he is spiting her and leaving her. So she kills him with a pitchfork. She stabs him a bunch of times and runs his car right into the lake so the alligator can do away with the evidence. Well, she goes in, and this is the final straw for Pearl. Pearl goes in for this dance competition with her friend Mitzi, who's a family friend. And Pearl, in her mind, is giving this great performance of all time. She's knocking it out of the park. She's going to make this dance troupe and tour the state, and this is where her dream begins. But when she's done dancing, this group of people that are evaluating each dancer tell her, we're sorry, you're just not what we're looking for. And Pearl has a complete breakdown on the side of the church. She's crying. Mitzi comes out, tries to comfort her, offers her a ride home. They get back to Pearl's house. And this is where Mia Goth shines this whole film, but this is really where I thought she deserved an Oscar nomination at the very minimum. It's unfortunate they ignore horror a lot of the times, but they're at the dining room table, and Mitzi's like, why are you so upset, Pearl? I mean, Howard's going to be coming home soon. And she goes, okay, you tell me. I'll pretend I'm Howard, and you just tell me what's wrong. And Mia Goth gives this monologue that goes on, and she just pours out everything she's felt, everything she's done, good or bad. She tells, she says about how she killed her parents and the projectionist, and she's done some awful things. And you could see the camera is on Pearl most of the time, but it does cut back to Mitzi, and you could see the look on her face as Pearl saying that, like, she killed her parents and all this stuff, and the look on her face is of utter horror. And Pearl wraps up her monologue, or her confession almost, and Mitzi politely goes, well, I gotta go now. And she lets herself up, and she starts walking out of the house. Pearl follows her, grabs an axe out of a tree stump, and follows her down the driveway and hacks the shit out of her with an axe. It's a spectacular scene, and Mia Goth sells it, man. I mean, I don't know how she did not get nominated for an Oscar for this film. I mean, in my opinion, she deserved it. But again, horror does not get recognized, unfortunately. And at the end of the film, Howard shows up at the end, and we get that perfect shot on Mia Goth's face, or Pearl, where she gives that unhinged smile, and it holds on her through the whole credit scene, and that's the end of Pearl. So, what to like about this film? Well, Mia Goth, she is a rock star. She sells this performance. It's her movie. Everybody else is great. I mean, Tandy Wright, who plays her mother, is fantastic, and her monologue during dinner is amazing as well. But every actor here is knocking it out of the park. Even if they're in a smaller part, they're great here. And this is a horror film, but it's more of a psychological study of just this young woman who seems pleasant, but she's got fucking issues. Oh, she's got fucking issues. And we just see her sanity just break and crack until it explodes in violence in certain points of the film. And it is so well done and well shot. And I love the anesthetic of the bright, like Technicolor style colors and vibrant look of the film. It really is a completely different look of this film. Even though it takes place on the same sets, as X does, it just looks like a completely different film. And I think that was a smart move to do that. In this film, the porn film, when Pearl goes to see the projectionist that night, he shows her a porn film from 1915. And it actually was a real porn film that was shown in the movie. It's a real vintage stag film called Free Ride. It's from 1915. So that was a legit porn film that was shown in that scene. To prepare for the role of Pearl in this film, Ty West told Mia Goth to watch The Wizard of Oz and What Happened to Baby Jane. Those were the two films that he was trying to, tone-wise, was trying to go for. Originally, Ty West wanted to film this in black and white. A24 didn't want to do that, and he decided to go with the Technicolor route. Well, it's not shot in Technicolor, but that vibe, the vibrant colors, the bright colors, that was his idea how to differentiate this one from X. And this was Mia Goth's first co-writing credit and first producing credit she's ever gotten in her career. And obviously, in this film, there's parallels to the COVID outbreak with the Spanish flu in this film. They referenced the Spanish flu a few times, with masks. Like, people were wearing masks and, trying not to get sick because you could die. Pearl's monologue goes on for 7 minutes and 57 seconds. It consists of 17 shots, and the last shot goes on for 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Amazing. And the Pearl's deranged smile at the end goes all the way through the credits, and it was unplanned at the time. Ty West just let the camera roll, and Mia Goth held it and until he yelled cut, and it lasts for 1 minute and 51 seconds. Now, this film as well, I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw this, and rewatching it, it holds up immensely well. And this is the first time I've seen it since I watched it originally. And I loved it the first time I watched it, but it's the first time I watched it since I saw it originally when I bought the Blu-ray. It's a fantastic prequel, and it really does flesh out that character even more. And I would give Pearl a 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5 out of 10 for Pearl as well. So I gave X a 9.5 out of 10, and I gave this one a 9.5 out of 10. I really love these two films. They're so well done, so well acted, so well shot. And again, I'm so excited to see Maxxxine next week that I can't wait to see how Ty West ends this. And I love how, I'm trying not to, I don't want nothing spoiled for me, but I like how, he worked in the Night Stalker killer into Maxxxine. So we'll see where that goes. I know they shot that in Hollywood, and I'm excited to see how he caps off this trilogy. But what do you think? Which one is your favorite, X or Pearl? What would you give either one? Leave that comment in the chat box. I'd be interested to hear what you think about both films. Which one's your favorite? To me, they're tied right now. After rewatching them again the other night, they're tied. I really love both films. They're so well done, and they're so unique from each other. And this new one looks like it's a little different than, it looks like an 80s slasher film. So we'll see where that one goes. But yeah, these are two really great horror films. And Ty West, I'm a fan of Ty West, so I'll be interested to see what he does post Maxxxine, what he has in store for us. You liked X better, Kurt? Yeah, I could see, X is more of the straight up slasher film. This one's more of a psychological study, and we do see some, kills, but it's not like X. I love both films. Like I said, I own both films. They're right there over my shoulder, right there. A little out of focus. That's only because my webcam just wants to focus on me and not them. But yeah, I own both of them. Again, Troy hasn't seen them. I don't think he's ready for them yet. More so for the nudity than anything, because there's no nudity in Pearl though. But you know, there might be questions when she's dry humping the scarecrow. You know what I'm saying? But that is it for this Horror Talk Live. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Next month, I've been thinking about this, and next month for July, we're going to go back to vampire territory here for next month. But we're going to do the one with the Coreys, baby. We're going to do The Lost Boys in July. I don't know what date yet, but we're going to talk about The Lost Boys next month. It just seems right. It's summertime, even though that movie takes place. Sorry, I can't see your comment. I don't know why. It's X, Y, and Z. Yeah, next month we're going to go out to Santa Cruz for The Lost Boys. We're going to talk about The Lost Boys next month. I will release a date when we get to there, when we get a little closer. But yeah, I wanted to do The Lost Boys for a while, so we're going to talk about The Lost Boys next month. And if you go see Maxxxine next week, come back and let me know what you thought of it. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that movie. I can't wait to see it. You'll see my out of the theater reaction probably that Monday after I see it. Me and Dale _A are going to plan on going to check that one out. Again, one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, along with Deadpool versus Wolverine coming up soon. Also, Longlegs comes out in 2 weeks with Nicolas Cage and playing this. I think he's playing the serial killer in that. Very excited about that. I've been hearing very many good things about Longlegs as well. Also, there's a trailer that dropped the other day. Before I go, if you didn't see it, you can see it on YouTube. It's called The Heretic. It looks very, very interesting. Check that trailer out if you get a chance. It dropped the other day. It looks very interesting. Hugh Grant's in it. But it looks very interesting. I'll be interested to see that one as well. But yeah, it's been an exciting year for horror so far, and there's some exciting things coming up. We're going to have a lot to talk about going forward. But for tonight, I hope you all have a great weekend. If you're in the South and it's hot as hell, stay cool. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you guys on the other side, man. Until next time, bye.